Well, so far, Pete Wheat has taken a beautiful trophy bighorn ram in northwest Wyoming, and now it's Francis Kegler's turn. He's drawn an Area 5 sheep tag just south of Buffalo Bill's home in the Rockies, Cody, Wyoming.
You know, there's no telling how many beautiful things you can see in the mountains. You've got waterfalls, big mountains, beautiful scenery. Every day is another day in paradise up here. About a year ago, I guess, a gal told me that as an archery hunter, she told me that that long-range shooting, that's not hunting, that's just killing. I can tell you on one of these hunts, there's a whole lot more hunting goes on than anybody would ever get in their 40-acre woods.
It's big. It's huge. You just don't understand how big the country is. First day out, we're sitting at breakfast and they're telling me, you know, maybe pack an extra sandwich. This might be an overnight deal. I thought, well, okay. You know, they know what they're doing. You know, and I looked at the horses. I didn't see any sleeping bags or anything. I thought, okay. So we go on up the mountain and we're glassing off this one point. And right there they tell me, well, we're in for an overnighter. I said, okay, well, kind of conserve the food a little bit. And then we drop off this big old hill. You know, you're almost afraid to walk down. Here we are going down it with the horses. Then we get up there to where we've seen the sheep. Yeah, find the sheep. We keep looking and waiting, and then we go up further. Finally, we're up through a waterfall, real beautiful waterfall, and glaciers up in there. Still no sheep. We kind of go up to, there's one more pocket to the right. We go up there, and there we find a big old grizzly bear, kind of just milling around. We're looking for sheep. Next thing we know, we see mama grizzly bear and a couple babies up in there. You know, it's almost dark, so we got to go back down the timberline and spend the night.
We're at about 9,900 feet elevation. Probably going to get really cold tonight. There was a lot of ice hanging on the rocks this morning, so probably get down to about 25 or so. We'll sleep for a little while and then wake up and feed the fire.
John finally found the ram, and we went down about 30 yards over to the ridge, kind of crawled up. Dry firing seemed to calm me down quite a bit. Wasn't holding the scope quite level, and John straightened me out with that. The wind was blowing pretty hard at our back, and John didn't think there was any reason to compensate for the windage.
Yeah, thank you guys. Cool. That was a good one, buddy. I think we got it safe. One and done.
One and done. Yes. Morning Creek Outfitters, that's the way to go.
I watched him back right on his shoulder there. Boom, right there. Yeah, he'll be laying there. I'd be real surprised if he went 30 yards. That was cool.
That's a small dinner.
Good job.
Hey, what about it, huh? A perfect shot on a perfect day. Congratulations, Francis, well done. And as it turns out, this is an extremely rare trophy. When we come back, we'll get a closer look and see why. Stay tuned for more of the Best of the West. It has been a great hunt so far. John Porter and his hunter, Francis Kegler, have triumphed in their pursuit of a bighorn ram here in the wilderness of Wyoming. But this is no ordinary ram. Let's take a look.
But this is all about how many years of applying for a license?
Well, I had 14 points. I've been racking my brain to see, I don't know, at least that many prior to the point system. So, it's been a long time.
Hey, I'd like to compliment you on that shot, quartering towards us, right on the point of the shoulder. That ram went about 20 yards and rolled down the hill right to here. And his bed is 25 yards from here, maybe. So, you know, excellent shot. I always love a good shot. You did it just fine. So,
appreciate everything you guys done for me. Showed me some good adventures on the mountain with the horses too. That was a long lost dream of mine that I always wanted to do. Finally got it done. Good way to do it.
Well, let's take a few photos and
Okay.
pack him up, march on out of here.
Well, good plan.
Man, what a beautiful ram, Francis. 28 years of putting in for that tag has earned you quite a rare trophy. To take the oldest ram that John has ever laid his hands on is quite an accomplishment. We thought we would take this opportunity to help you understand how to age a bighorn ram. John has come into the studio with a few examples for us to take a look at.
This ram of Francis's was 12 years old. Now, out of 98 sheep that I've had my hands on, this is the only 12-year-old ram. What an old warrior of the mountain. He's evaded predators, hunters, eagles, wolves, grizzly bears for all these years. Now, a lot of you wonder how we age these sheep. They've actually got annual growth rings that are pretty easy to see. In fact, sometimes you can see them even through a spotting scope at 400 or 500 yards away. You can get a pretty good idea what it is for age. But the horn grows year-round. They never lose their horns on a sheep. And these annual rings that you can see on here is actually during the late winter when their body's down the most and they're growing the least amount of horn is what creates that recess. Now, when a lamb is born, in the first 6 months, he'll grow just a little bit of horn, okay? Just a little bit of a bump, which is kind of hard to see on this one. This is actually his lamb ring. This is a 1.5 year old ring here. So born in the spring, this is the winter when he was 1.5 years old, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, an 8.5-year-old ram. That's how old this ram was. These kind of easier to see on this bighorn sheep head. This was a winter-killed ram. This was his 1.5 year old ring. He would have had about this much tip on here if he hadn't been broomed. This is 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5 to 8.5-year-old ram. Aging these old rams is kind of an art. You can see the progressive growth here. When they're younger, they grow more horn or at least longer horn, and each of these sections gets a little bit smaller, a little bit smaller, a little bit smaller. And a lot of times on the really old rams, the last, like this ram from 8.5 years old to 12 years old, he may have only grown another 1.5 inches of horn. In this particular area, 10, 11-year-old ram is about as old as they ever get. And this 12-year-old ram was an exception to the rule. Definitely the old warrior of the mountain.
Boy, now that is one tough old ram. And the sheep has some age on it too. Hey, thanks, John, for that tidbit of knowledge. And of course, hiding out at 10,000 feet will definitely keep you off the beaten path. To hunt with John Porter and Morning Creek Outfitters, give them a call at 307-587-5343 or visit them online at wyominghunts.com.
That'll work. Yeah, thank you guys.